Hi Shikha, welcome to the Mind Talk podcast. Can you tell us a little something about yourself?
Hi, Ruchi. Thank you so much for having me here. Really nice to join you. A little something about me. I've lived in Hong Kong for a little over 20 years now. I'm a jewelry designer by profession, which I have been for a little over 20 years. And I guess I do call myself a poet as well now, though I don't have my own book out. I'm also the co-editor and co-founder of an online magazine called Coffee and Conversations, which will be 6 years this year.
Wow.
6 years old, yeah.
So I actually know you as a jewelry designer. How I first met you.
True.
And then there was a long gap, and then I met you again when I started the Mind Talk, and then we connected again, and I found out about the charity that you're working with. So can you tell us a little something about that?
I guess when you say charity, it's about my advocacy and fundraising work for Afghan women and children. I started this in 2021 after the
Mhm.
Taliban took over the country again. And through the years, I don't have my own organization. I'm not affiliated with any organization, nor do I work for one. And over the years, I have, through my research and through doing a lot of homework, found credible Afghan charities and organizations that I basically advocate for and I encourage people to donate to, and I donate to myself. So the one that I'm currently doing most of my aid work through is called Hope and Kindness Afghanistan,
Mm.
which was founded by a team of people, but is headed by a lady called Halila Harito, who is
Mhm.
an Afghan woman currently living in South Africa. So she and I are literally in touch, I would say, a few times a week on WhatsApp. We
Mhm.
communicate quite regularly. We do laugh and say that I'm like one of their global team members, though technically I'm not. What I do is, of course, donate to them myself. I also share about their work so that other people can also donate towards their initiatives.
And when we spoke about this, I was really inspired because one, you're an Indian woman living in Hong Kong, but you're working for a cause so far away. So, what really got you into that? Because most of us, when you think about charity or working with NGOs or charitable organizations, we're looking something very locally where we stay. And you do this work so quietly. So, what got you into this?
I love that because almost anybody who knows me will say I can't do anything quietly. But my connection with Afghanistan started in 2019, where it was through two books that I had read by an Afghan American author called Nadia Hashimi. And while I won't go into details, it was a particularly tough year for me. And those two books impacted my life a lot. So nothing, I had no intention of fundraising or doing anything at that time. Of course, the Taliban wasn't in the picture, so things were quite normal in Afghanistan. But for the first, I think right after reading the book, a few months later, I contacted Nadia for an interview for Coffee and Conversations. And that interview led to a few online events in Hong Kong where I introduced her to other groups here. So we had been in touch for almost a year and a half before the Taliban came. I think because of my connection again with the books, with the stories, with the characters, and then with the author herself, when the Taliban did come and the country fell, it felt very personal to me. One, I by then knew people who were living in Afghanistan. I also, people ask me this all the time, and I can't really explain the connection except to say that at that time I knew in my heart that I had to do something. I didn't know what that would look like. And I just reached out to a friend at that point. I called her up and I said, look, this is what's happening. You've read the news. I have to do something. I can't just sit and not do anything. These were my exact words. And we discussed doing a fundraiser to
Mhm.
help Afghan women out because anybody who has even the slightest knowledge about the Taliban knew what would happen if they came into power. The first people to get impacted would be women and girls. So at that point, I literally just started by forming a Facebook group that I quickly named Hong Kong for Afghanistan. And I started talking about what's happening there, sharing news, and also talking to people about the possibility of doing a fundraiser for
Mm.
Afghan women and children. Now, in terms of finding an organization at that point, honestly, I followed. Nadia was a member of, and I think might be still a member of the Afghan American Foundation, which is an organization in the US. They were sharing a lot of resources when this happened. So I actually followed their guidelines, researched the organizations that they had found credible and said we could donate to, and chose one from there. Pretty much started this fundraiser. It lasted about 4 months, 4 or 5 months. And by the end of it, we had a little over 50 women run businesses in Hong Kong that had joined in and contributed. And that was then, and now it's almost 5 years. Yeah.
So this all of this is really interesting to me, and the reason it's interesting to me is help doesn't you're sitting here in Hong Kong all the way and you're helping women in Afghanistan. To me, that's very crucial because I believe in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is like we are all but one family, and the world really is small. How was the response? You told me 50 businesses came forward to help you with this initiative. And how was the response from the public? And how did you feel about that?
So initially, because I've never really done fundraising before, I
Mm,
had done very little when I was right out of school and in college in New Delhi. That time I was raising funds just between family and friends for animals that were stranded on the streets. But I had never run a fundraiser to this one of this size. I think the first month was very tough. I was very hopeful and I think was very confident that, oh, Hong Kong, everybody that I know that I've known for so long will come through and donate at least something. And at that point, I said the fundraiser will last a month. But by the end of the month, apart from a lot of strangers and businesses that had responded, I would say that most of the people that I had known for 15 plus years had nothing good to say. In fact, they didn't contribute. They didn't want to contribute, and they only had a lot of negative things to say about what I was doing. But by the end of 4 months, like I said, we had over 50 businesses join in, and most of them were people I did not know. But because I'm a part of I would say, the Hong Kong small business community and have been, we all knew of each other through
mm.
social media and everything. So the first month was tough. I barely slept. I was quite disappointed with the response. I cried a lot. And I called the same friend that I had rung up when I had the idea. And I have to share something that she told me, which I still remind myself of all the time. And she said this almost in a scolding way. She said, if you let this destroy you, you will be of no help to anybody.
Oh, that's
She said,
beautiful.
yeah, she said, pick yourself up, stop crying, do the work. Nobody told you this needs to last just a month. Why are you setting these rules for yourself? Just go with the flow. And she said, get yourself together, look after your health, because otherwise you'll be of no use to the people you're trying to help or towards your family. That is such sound advice that I still tell myself when I get very dismayed by what's happening in the world. You've just got to carry on. If you have work to do, you've just got to carry on and pick yourself up. But yeah, the response then wasn't great. But in these 4 years, I have been amazed by the response that I've received, mainly from strangers. People who've heard about the work that's been happening, people who've seen it when I share it on social media. People I've never even met sometimes call me or message me saying, I saw what you were doing and I want to donate. And every time I'm just like, I tell them, let's please get onto a call. I really want to explain what I'm doing. Don't just donate without knowing the details.
Yeah.
But I have been amazed by the generosity and the kindness of strangers, of people I've never known, and of women who feel so strongly for other women the way I do, that it doesn't matter that Afghanistan is far away. It doesn't matter that it's a country with a different religion or a different way of living. And I do have to tell you, I'm Indian and you stated that, but a lot of times people who don't know me assume I'm Afghan because
Oh,
my grandparents from both sides of my families were basically from the northwest frontier province, which borders Afghanistan currently and is in Pakistan right now. But yeah, my ancestral homes were just a few hours drive from the Afghan border. So I think
wow.
Pashtuns and Punjabis do look quite alike. So I think I've had at least 15 plus people over the years assume that I'm Afghan and that's why I'm doing this. But it doesn't really matter. I always tell people whatever is close to your heart, wherever you feel you're being tugged and pulled towards, go there. Trust your heart, trust your instincts. And honestly, when you have a connection, you have a connection. It doesn't matter where you're from or where they're from. There are people who, do incredible work to clean up oceans and for animals. That's just where their heart is. Yeah.
And also, what I'm hearing is it's not really about the place, but it is really about the women that have are facing the brunt of everything that's going on. And it's wonderful to see that so many strangers showed up for you and your cause.
Yeah.
And that has been my experience too. But I do also, I cannot help but also note that it must have been a very disheartening experience for you when people close to you were not on the same page as you. I want to know, what was your takeaway from this experience? What wisdom did you gain from this?
One is that you've got to disregard a lot of the negative talk that comes your way, especially when you know in your heart you're doing something that's right. I will share here a few things that were told to me simply because I've never said this out loud, at least on a public platform. But even now, I have many people who tell me, oh, you're a Hindu, but you're raising funds for Muslims. And while I was born into a Hindu family and my parents definitely practice Hinduism, I'm not a religious person at all. So, yes. So, anytime people ask me, I'm like, yes, my parents are Hindu. And if I had to tick a box, that probably would be it. But religion doesn't matter for me. But it does matter for a lot of people who have come up to me and said they will not donate because they're Hindus, and I'm working for people who are not. I have been told by people, actually one person, that what I'm doing is far too much and why do I need to do so much? I actually don't understand that question at all. I was told I would ruin my reputation doing what I'm doing. I honestly don't even understand that question at all. But yeah, so people's negative comments are always going to be there. And I will share this. I shared a reel today itself on Instagram where people visiting the pyramids in Egypt had a lot of negative comments. And the reel basically said that if people are leaving negative comments for the pyramids, it's okay. Let them leave a few for you as well. There will always be people around complaining, but we've got to look for the right voices. I think we've got to keep the right voices in our head. And
Mm.
at the end of the day, I think we need to really trust our instincts. And that does come with practice. Like I said, the first couple of months were tough for me. I was very disheartened. I cried a lot. I wasn't sleeping well. But at the end of the day, I had a friend who told me that I needed to have faith. Whether or not I'm religious, I am somebody who still has faith in something bigger and larger than us. And I needed to trust that if I felt something this strongly, that as long as I carried on doing the work that was required, things would happen. And honestly, the rest of it isn't even up to me. I just have to show up, do the work, and leave the rest to whoever.
And for me, I don't believe that faith has to be connected to a religion. Faith is actually in your purpose, in the cause that you're working for. And when you know that the cause is bigger than you and it is out there to whatever you're doing is out there to help someone. And I want to come back to the question of what you're really doing is helping women in Afghanistan. But
Correct.
in Hong Kong, I've been in Hong Kong and there's so much safety here. I love Hong Kong so much. And that also allows us and gives us the permission to be the women that we are.
Yeah.
Then are there really any parallels? How does one make that connection with the women in Afghanistan?
There aren't really any parallels as such. Afghan women today are experiencing gender apartheid. They have been banned from literally living normal lives completely, banned from education past grade 6, banned from universities, banned from parks, banned from gyms, banned from jobs, banned from owning businesses, banned from singing, banned from walking with friends on the streets, meeting in groups. This is very different from what people elsewhere are going through. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of women here have come forward to support, because people who really feel this know that this is not the kind of world we want for women and girls. It
Mm,
doesn't matter where this is happening. We don't want it. As much as possible, we won't allow it. And while most of us don't have any political connections, we can't really do much to change what's happening there. But
mm,
what we can do is support in our own way.
mm,
Because to just let it be is to allow it. And I think a lot of the women that have come forth with helping are women who do not want a world like this for themselves or for their daughters and their sons going forth. And I think a lot of, like, For me personally, I would say as an Indian woman, there are many similarities to Afghan women because at the end of the day, before the Taliban came as well, I always tell this to people. I said, if you want to imagine what Afghan women are going through, imagine a city in India going through what they are. That you had women in the parliament, you had women who were in the army, you had women who owned businesses, who were teachers and lawyers, you had women doing anything and everything 6 years back. Yes, there was a lot of patriarchy, but guess what? That's with most countries in the world.
True.
India is a country where women technically are free. We have rights, but the thread of patriarchy runs very deep in most families, whether you're in the villages or whether you're in the cities. And that's kind of what Afghanistan was like as well. So there aren't parallels as such, but I think most women who've experienced patriarchy and just men controlling women and girls using religion as an excuse will understand and will feel for Afghan women. And this is not just coming from India. I think you see this happening in the US right now, where you have another religion being misused and mishandled by men in power. This has always happened through time. So I think in this day and age, the women that have come forward, at least to help us and help me and help these initiatives, are women who really are fed up. They don't even need to draw parallels. Even though these are women living in Afghanistan and girls in Afghanistan, they feel deeply enough to help.
I think empathy is the word here because having
Absolutely.
gratitude to where we live and having all the permissions and the freedom to be the kind of women we want to be.
Yeah.
It's just one needs to dig into that empathetic side
Yeah.
and
And an understanding because even women living, like I said, in first world countries understand patriarchy. So
yeah.
they understand men controlling women. Yeah.
You've been doing this work for a while now. And if you were to go back and start it all over again with all the knowledge and wisdom you have today, how would you do it differently?
I don't think I would, simply because everything that's happened over the last 5 years, nothing was planned. A lot of ideas worked, a lot of ideas didn't work. But I think because the cause has been, or the work has been important enough for me for the first time in my life, I didn't feel disheartened by the ideas that didn't work. I literally, for somebody who does not go with the flow at all, have gone with the flow in the last 4 years. So I wouldn't change anything because if I changed anything, I wouldn't have learned what I have learned over the years. I wouldn't have felt what I felt over the years. I wouldn't have had the relationships I've had over the years, be it with people here, becoming friends, good friends with people who feel the same and have donated and help out. The friendships I have with Afghan women, some in the country, some outside. So, yeah, if I could go back and do anything, I'll probably just might take a little bit extra care of myself, at least in those first few months, sleep a little better. But yeah, I don't think I would change anything at all. Whatever I've learned because of how the last few years have gone. Yeah.
Beautiful. What I'm taking away from today's conversation is that purpose, having a purpose is an opportunity to grow and learn and
Yes.
give back in any way possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I think people need to remain open to this whole thing we call purpose, right? And of course, nobody has just one purpose in life. I think one of the biggest things I do in my life is raising my kids.
Absolutely.
That's a purpose there in itself. Another purpose is, yeah, taking care of myself, my health, all of that. But I just feel like when you're looking for something which is outside of your own life, stay open to things because you have no idea what your purpose or what your work or your impact could be anywhere. So stay open to it. Some people find their purpose, so to
Mm.
speak, early, some don't. But again, most of what we do in life is purposeful. So how
Absolutely.
about just choosing to do the right things and the nice things and the kind things? And maybe you don't have one big purpose, but guess what? On purpose, you are a nice person almost every day. You're a kind person almost day, and that can be a purpose as well. Yeah, but
I agree with you because this morning I was thinking about purpose and I was thinking like purpose doesn't have to be something big. Just getting up every morning, going to work, doing a 9 to 5 and doing it to the best of your ability and enjoying the process rather than the destination. And that's what you've told
yeah,
me in this
I mean,
podcast.
absolutely. The simplest purpose you could have beyond yourself is just to be a nice, decent person in society. whether or not you're donating, whether or not you're doing anything else, if you just choose to be a nice, decent person in society, that's a great purpose to follow, right? Yeah.
Thank you. This was lovely talking to you as always. Wishing you all the very best.
Thank
All
you
your
so much.
links will be in the description. So I hope people go and visit and see the work that you're doing. Thank you so much, Shika.
Thank you so much, Ruchi, for your time. And yes, I will say if anybody wants to get in touch, if you want to get involved, please just reach out. All my links are there, all my contacts are there. So send me a message. Thank you.
Thank you.